Picture this. You are standing at One World Observatory just after sunset. The Hudson glows copper. Manhattan below flickers like a living circuit board. Millions of signals move in every direction. Markets trading, deliveries moving, people deciding. To most, it feels like noise. To a few, it is pattern. They see where the world tilts before anyone else. 10 years ago, an engineer looked at this same skyline. Everyone around him chased social networks. He noticed something quieter. Graphics chips were turning into the next layer of intelligence. He invested a small amount and waited. A decade later, that single choice was worth 100 times more. That is asymmetry, seeing imbalance before the world corrects it. Welcome to Mindset Frontier AI. This is the Asymmetry Mindset: How to See 100x Before It Happens. It is part 1 of a 3-episode mini-series about the 100 times principle. First the mindset, then the investor, then the creator. Together they form the operating system of how the top 1% think and grow.
I am Max Vanguard, a behavioral finance coach. I study how people make decisions when emotions collide with money and pressure. My focus is helping you recognize bias, handle uncertainty, and turn chaos into opportunity.
I am Sophia Sterling, a mindset strategist. I work with founders, investors, and leaders who want structure, not slogans. My goal is to turn complex patterns into simple habits that scale.
I am Charlie Graham, a data analyst and market researcher. I translate information into clear numbers and probabilities so you can see what is really working and what is not.
From up here, the city becomes geometry. The streets form grids. The rivers draw lines of light. The noise organizes itself. Down there, everything feels urgent. Up here, it feels inevitable. That is the first lesson of asymmetry. Step back until the pattern appears.
Most people chase balance. The top 1% chase leverage. They look for the point where a small input creates a huge result. One product, one relationship, one decision. They are not reckless. They are selective. They risk little, learn fast, and let time do the multiplying.
The data is clear. In a century of market history, less than 4% of public companies created all the wealth above safe returns. 1% of stocks made half of those gains. That is not a normal curve. That is a power law. You do not need to be right often. You need to be ready when the right thing happens.
The asymmetry mindset begins with 3 questions. Where is the imbalance others ignore? What looks small today but can grow without permission? And what has limited risk but unlimited reward if I stay patient? That is where every 100 times story begins.
Here is the human problem. Fear blocks vision. Boredom kills conviction. Ridicule makes people sell the future to buy comfort. Every 100 times story passes through that tunnel. The winners walk through it. The rest turn back.
Translate that into math. Positive expectancy equals the chance of success multiplied by the payoff minus the chance of failure multiplied by the cost. For 100 times opportunities, the chance of success may be small. The cost is capped. The payoff is not. That math rewards patience and discipline.
In this episode, we will train that lens. We will define asymmetry in clear language. We will map where it appears in life, work, and investing. Then we will move to part 2, the 100x investor, the math of conviction, and part 3, the 100x creator, how to build ideas that compound. Subscribe on Apple or Spotify. Follow us on X. Share this episode with a friend who is ready to think like the top 1%. Help us reach 10,000 downloads. Help us keep Mindset Frontier AI alive. One idea can change a decade if you see it before it happens. When you start to look for asymmetry, you begin to notice the same shape repeating everywhere. It appears in markets, technology, and even in personal growth. A slow start, a flat line, then a sudden rise that feels impossible. That curve is power, and once you learn to recognize it, you cannot unsee it. Most people only see results when the curve is already vertical. The top 1% see it while it is still flat. They look for signals that others call noise. They are not predicting the future. They are reading the present more clearly than the crowd.
The data backs this up. In business, innovation follows what we call an S-curve. It begins with a small group of early users, then adoption grows exponentially, and finally it levels off. The biggest returns happen for those who enter before the steep part of that curve begins.
Think about it like this. By the time the world agrees on what is valuable, the opportunity is already priced in. The advantage belongs to the ones who trusted the signal when it was still uncertain. They felt the imbalance and acted on it. That is what makes asymmetry emotional as much as mathematical.
Let us take three quick stories. Each begins with a person who saw scale before it was visible. In 1997, Jeff Bezos described the internet as the new infrastructure of commerce, while most retailers still laughed. In 2015, Jensen Huang at NVIDIA bet that artificial intelligence would need parallel processing. In 2020, a small creator named Jimmy Donaldson, better known as Mr. Beast, treated content like a base or dangerine, treated content like a deo as a tweeting content like a each built a compounding machine by recognizing pattern early.
The same curve shows up in personal development. At first, every new skill feels slow. The feedback is flat. Then one insight connects everything you have learned and growth explodes. That moment of acceleration is asymmetry in human form.
But it only happens if you stay in the game. Most people quit on the flat part. They stop before the curve bends. Patience is leverage. Time is the ultimate multiplier.
From this view, asymmetry is not about gambling. It is about preparation. You build the conditions for scale so that when the opportunity appears, you are already positioned. The curve rewards readiness.
Mathematically, we can describe this as a feedback loop. Input leads to small gain. Gain increases confidence. Confidence allows larger input. The system compounds. That loop turns effort into exponential results.
The emotional challenge is staying calm while it is still slow. Early conviction feels lonely. No one claps when you are early. The applause comes when you no longer need it. The top 1% build in silence because they understand that scale arrives without warning.
Seeing what scales is a discipline. Ask these questions. First, is the environment expanding or shrinking? Second, does this decision become easier or harder with time? Third, will the upside grow faster than my ability to measure it? If you can answer yes to two of those, you are standing near asymmetry.
Every asymmetric success follows the same 4 steps. First, learn, then simplify, then leverage, then compound. It is the same loop that built every great company, every lasting skill, and every fortune.
The secret is that the loop never ends. You do not reach asymmetry once. You live inside it. Each new cycle begins where the last one left off.
In the next segment, we will explore the geometry of 100 times growth, the hidden math that turns conviction into results. For now, remember this. Asymmetry is not luck. It is pattern recognition powered by patience. Every breakthrough looks like luck from the outside, but underneath every 100x story there is a pattern. It is not magic. It is math, the math of conviction. The problem is that most people learn math as calculation, not as a way of thinking. They chase certainty instead of probability. The top 1% understand that every decision is an equation, a balance between what you can lose, what you can gain, and how long you can wait.
In probability theory, we call this positive expectancy. It means that if you make the same choice 100 times, your average result will be greater than 0. The formula is simple. The chance of success multiplied by the payoff minus the chance of failure multiplied by the cost. When that number is positive, the system works even if most attempts fail.
But here is what makes the elite different. They think in systems, not single bets. They do not expect to win every time. They expect the math to work over time. That is conviction. It is not blind faith. It is trust in a structure that keeps the upside open and the downside capped.
I call this the frontier equation. It has 4 parts. First, limit risk so that no failure can destroy you. Second, design for asymmetry, where the reward is many times larger than the loss. Third, repeat the process enough times to let probability do its work. Fourth, build conviction strong enough to survive volatility. When these four combine, compounding begins.
Here is what it looks like in real life. A small investor sets aside the same amount every month into high conviction ideas. Some positions fail. A few rise dramatically. Over 10 years, the total curve bends upward, even though most trades were ordinary. The math wins because the structure wins.
The same rule applies to skills. You might fail at 9 projects and succeed at 1, but if that one success returns 100 times the effort, you are ahead. The emotional challenge is surviving the first 9. That is where conviction lives.
Conviction is often misunderstood. It is not emotion, it is clarity. It is knowing your math so well that fear no longer changes your behavior. When you trust the numbers, you stop needing permission. You can hold positions while others panic.
Research on long-term investors proves this. The best performers are not the ones who trade most actively. They are the ones who hold through volatility because they understand expectancy. They think in decades, not days. They let the distribution work in their favor.
Conviction without math is gambling. Math without conviction is paralysis. You need both. The numbers give you structure. The belief keeps you in the game long enough for the structure to work.
The secret of the 100x mindset is learning to stay small while thinking big. You control what you risk, but leave your reward unbounded. You design systems where being wrong costs little and being right changes everything. Over time, the math becomes your protection and your edge.
The lesson is simple. Think in equations, not emotions. Build decisions that survive failure. Test your logic often. Reinvest what works. The numbers will not lie. They only need consistency and time.
This is the real math of conviction. Small losses you can survive. Rare wins that redefine the curve. Patience that multiplies both. The 100x life is not built from perfect choices. It is built from asymmetric systems that keep working while everyone else stops. Every formula looks simple on paper until you add emotion. Numbers are perfect. People are not. The biggest variable in every system is human behavior. The math of conviction works only if the person running it can stay calm when the graph turns against them.
Fear is the first test. It arrives when logic disappears. Fear makes you sell at the bottom, quit too early, or freeze when it is time to act. It feels like protection, but it is really paralysis. The top 1% experience fear just like everyone else. They have simply learned how to translate it. To them, fear is a sign that they are standing near growth.
Behavioral science proves this. Studies on loss aversion show that the pain of losing feels twice as strong as the joy of winning. The emotional math is rigged against you. That is why most people abandon good systems before they pay off. The winners design rules that act when their emotions cannot. They automate courage.
The second test is boredom. Compounding is slow at first. The graph barely moves. The silence feels like failure. That is when most people change strategy, chasing something new. But the top performers understand that boredom is proof of consistency. It means the system is running. It means volatility has shifted from their emotions to their structure.
Boredom hides the truth that mastery is repetition. Every skill, every fortune, every transformation comes from doing one thing long enough for the curve to bend. You do not need excitement. You need rhythm.
Then comes the belief gap, the space between what you know is right and what you can emotionally tolerate. Everyone hits it. The data says hold. Your nerves say run. The gap is where asymmetry is either lost or earned.
This gap has been measured in performance studies. In trading, athletics, and business, results often lag effort by months or years. During that lag, doubt peaks. The average person interprets the lag as failure. The elite interpret it as loading time. They understand that lag is the incubation phase of compounding.
The belief gap is the ultimate filter. It is where comfort ends and conviction begins. Fear shows you the edge. Boredom tests your patience. The belief gap measures your faith in the system you built. If you can walk through all three, the curve eventually rewards you.
Most people think the top 1% are fearless. They are not. They have just built emotional systems. They have rules for fear, schedules for boredom, and structures for belief. They never leave the outcome to mood.
Emotional control compounds faster than capital. The data shows that consistent decision makers outperform erratic geniuses. Stability is the real advantage. When you stay stable, you allow the system to do its work.
Remember this pattern. Fear means you are close to leverage. Boredom means the system is working. The belief gap means the curve is loading. When all three appear at once, you are standing on the threshold of transformation.
The human side of asymmetry is what separates the dreamers from the disciplined. The math will always work eventually. The question is whether you can handle the emotions that appear before it does. In the next segment, we will take everything we have learned and apply it to real life. We will look at how asymmetry appears across business, creativity, and relationships, and how to design your daily life to find these hidden opportunities before anyone else. Asymmetry is not limited to investing or markets. Once you understand the pattern, you begin to see it everywhere. It appears in business, creativity, relationships, and even in learning itself. The same law repeats. Small, consistent effort combined with leverage and time creates results that look impossible from the starting point. Let us begin with business. Every company that changed the world started as an asymmetric bet, a small idea that looked insignificant but held massive leverage inside it. Amazon was just a bookstore. Airbnb was just air mattresses in a living room. Tesla was a niche car company. Each began with limited downside and almost infinite upside if they could prove the model.
The numbers are remarkable. Less than 1% of all startups generate 99% of total venture returns. That is the same power law we have seen in markets. But the hidden lesson is that those rare successes come from founders who design asymmetry intentionally. They risk small, iterate quickly, and scale fast when they find signal.
You can apply the same rule to your own career. Think of your skills as investments. A new certification, a small side project, a public portfolio. Each is a small bet with limited cost and high potential return. You do not need a perfect plan. You need to create optionality. That means a few well-placed bets that could compound if the right door opens.
The same pattern drives creativity. A writer who publishes one article per week for a year might reach only a few hundred readers at first, but one piece can go viral and change everything. A musician releases 10 songs that no one hears, then one track connects and transforms their career. The ratio of output to reward is never linear.
We can measure that in attention data. On most platforms, 1% of creators receive more than 90% of engagement. The distribution is asymmetric by nature. The reason is leverage. A single piece of content can travel through networks for years without extra effort from the creator. The payoff grows while the input stays the same.
Asymmetry also exists in relationships. One introduction can change the direction of your work or your entire life. The return on genuine connection is non-linear. A single conversation can open opportunities that would never appear through strategy alone. That is why the top performers treat relationships like capital. They invest with authenticity, not quantity.
You can even find asymmetry in learning. A single insight can replace months of confusion. A mentor, a book, or a course can shortcut years of trial and error. The more you invest in the ability to learn fast, the higher your lifetime leverage becomes. Knowledge compounds faster than money once you learn how to keep it growing.
There is a consistent pattern behind all of these examples. Each starts with a small, survivable investment. Each relies on a mechanism that scales without equal effort. Each rewards time and patience. The pattern is universal because compounding is universal.
The world is full of hidden asymmetries waiting to be used. The problem is that most people look for guaranteed outcomes instead of open-ended ones. They trade potential for predictability. They avoid risk so completely that they eliminate the possibility of extraordinary reward.
To think like the top 1%, shift the question you ask yourself. Instead of asking what is safe, ask what is scalable. Instead of asking what is certain, ask what is possible if I am patient. Safety produces stability, asymmetry produces freedom.
The formula is simple. Small input times leverage times time equals exponential result. But the multiplier is mindset. Without the belief that the curve exists, you will never stay long enough to see it. That is why asymmetry begins in perception long before it appears in data.
When you begin to see asymmetry everywhere, you stop chasing trends and start building edges. You realize that big outcomes are just small edges compounded over time. You no longer need permission or prediction. You need patience and structure.
The cross-domain pattern proves one thing. Asymmetry is not only about making money. It is about designing your life around high-leverage choices. Choices that may look small today but can multiply in value, influence, and impact over years. In the next segment, we will bring everything together. We will explain how to build a system around asymmetry, a system that protects you from loss, multiplies your gains, and allows your decisions to keep working even when you are not watching. Every 100x story eventually reaches the same realization. What looks like luck is really structure. Success that appears random from the outside is usually engineered through small, repeatable systems. Luck happens inside systems that allow it to multiply. The purpose of a system is simple. It removes the need for constant willpower. A good system makes the right choice automatic and the wrong choice difficult. When you build that structure around your goals, you stop relying on motivation and start relying on process.
We can describe the system of asymmetry through three elements. The first is protection. The second is leverage. The third is time. Each part reinforces the others. Miss one, and the system collapses. Combine all three, and compounding begins.
Protection means limiting downside. It is the foundation. You never want one mistake to erase years of progress. In investing, it means risk management. In life, it means emotional regulation. In business, it means keeping cash flow steady so you can stay in the game. Survivability is the first edge.
Leverage is the second element. Leverage means that your results grow faster than your effort. It can come from technology, communication, automation, or people. Anything that allows you to produce more value than you consume is leverage. The top 1% spend years building tools, systems, and relationships that work harder than they do.
Time is the third element. It is the invisible amplifier. Every hour, every iteration, every small improvement compounds. The math of time is simple but unforgiving. Short-term luck disappears. Long-term structure compounds forever.
When you combine protection, leverage, and time, you create a system that converts effort into exponential return. You stop playing defense and start building inevitability. Every small improvement becomes a permanent upgrade instead of a temporary spike.
Here's how you can build your own asymmetry system. Start by choosing a domain you can commit to for years. Then define a process you can repeat without burning out. Automate what you can. Document what you cannot. Use each cycle to improve the next. That is how asymmetry becomes sustainable.
Data supports this approach. The most successful people and organizations rely on checklists, templates, and standard routines to reduce error. They build playbooks that remove decision fatigue. Their creativity is not in constant change. It is in consistent improvement.
The paradox of asymmetry is that the biggest outcomes often come from the most boring habits: reading a little every day, saving a small percentage of income, releasing content every week. None of it feels spectacular in the moment, but the system is working quietly underneath.
Systems also protect you from emotional noise. When the environment changes or results slow down, the structure keeps you moving. You can trust the process when your feelings are uncertain. That consistency is what the world mistakes for confidence.
Think of your system as a machine. Every decision is a gear. Some gears spin fast, others slow. You do not need to see the entire mechanism. You only need to know that when you keep turning the crank, energy accumulates. The machine stores progress.
Systems are powerful because they make scale possible. A business that depends on one person cannot scale. A system that captures and repeats value can. That is why the top 1% work on the system, not in it. They are architects, not operators.
The difference between luck and leverage is repetition. Anyone can get lucky once. A system turns luck into a pattern. When you have a repeatable structure, even small opportunities become meaningful. Over time, those small advantages compound into dominance.
The feedback loop of asymmetry looks like this. Protect the base. Apply leverage. Wait with patience. Measure. Improve. Repeat. The outcome is inevitable if the process is consistent. The timeline is uncertain, but the direction is upward.
Remember this line. The world rewards structure more than talent. Talent may start the journey, but systems finish it. If you build a structure that can survive chaos, you can convert any period of luck into permanent leverage.
In the final segment, we will bring it all together. We will summarize the complete model of the 100x mindset and show you how to use it as your personal operating system. The goal is not just success, the goal is freedom through structure. We began high above New York. We looked down at a city of signals. From that view, the lesson was clear. Asymmetry starts with perception. See the pattern before the crowd. Hold the idea long enough for it to grow. In segment 2, we learned to spot what scales. The early flat line, the quiet signals, the curve that bends when few are watching. In segment 3, we turned feeling into math, positive expectancy, bounded loss, open upside. In segment 4, we faced the human tests, fear, boredom, the belief gap. In segment 5, we mapped asymmetry across life, business, creativity, relationships. In segment 6, we built the system, protect the base. In segment 6, we built the system, protect the base. Apply leverage, give it time, measure and repeat.
Put it together and you get the operating system of the top 1%. They do not chase balance. They design asymmetry. They risk small. They learn fast. They let time multiply the result. They use structure to survive chaos. They keep the upside open.
The numbers support it. Power laws drive markets and attention. A few decisions create most of the return. You do not need to be right often. You need to be positioned when the right thing happens. That is the geometry of 100 times.
Here is the simple checklist. Ask 3 questions. Where is the imbalance others ignore? What starts small but can grow without permission? What has limited risk and unlimited reward if I stay patient? Then build your system around the answers. Protect, leverage, time. In part 2, we go deeper into the numbers, the 100x investor, the math of conviction. In part 3, we build for creators and founders, the 100x creator, how to build ideas that compound. If you found clarity today, bring a friend for the next step.
Subscribe to Mindset Frontier AI on Spotify or Apple Podcasts. Follow us on X for elite mental models, billionaire psychology, and decision frameworks that scale. Share this episode with a friend and help us hit 10,000 downloads to build the sharpest mindset community online. We cover wealth, focus, and strategic growth across 4 series, all grouped at financefrontierai.com. And if you've got a founder story or mental framework worth sharing, we may feature it in a future episode. Just head to the pitch page and submit.
And don't forget, sign up for the 10 Times Edge. It's our weekly newsletter packed with billionaire habits, AI productivity tools, and top-tier mindset strategies for exponential success, only at financefrontierai.com. This podcast is for educational purposes only, not personal advice. Always do your own research and consult qualified professionals before applying any strategy.
Mindset evolves. Pressure compounds. And even the best systems fail without execution. Treat every insight like a test, run it, refine it, and make it yours.
Music in this episode, including our intro and outro track, Dreaming On Instrumental by Nefx, is licensed under the YouTube Audio Library license. Full details can be found in the episode description.
Copyright 2025 Finance Frontier AI. All rights reserved. Reproduction or redistribution of this content without written permission is strictly prohibited.
We do it now. We do it now.